Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me on the first post market report. My name is Paul. I'm your host for the evening. I'm very grateful for your presence, and I hope to bring to you guys some very good, useful information, especially if you're a swing trader. There's some good stuff that I'm going to be bringing to you guys. So, yeah, please click that subscribe button if you feel so inclined. Hit that bell for future notifications as I'm going to be doing these videos every day post market from here on out. So, yeah, let's just get right into it, man, because a lot went down today in the markets. And the way I start my day and the way I start my analysis is kind of how I'm gonna break these videos down. And if you guys use TC2000, you have this T2104. Basically, this indicator keeps me on the right side of the market. So how they calculate it, I don't know. As a technical trader, it doesn't really matter to me, but I know what it has to do is declining volume versus advancing volume. And it really, really, really helps me intraday as well as with my swing trades. As today, I exited several positions that I got into way back here when this thing showed a strong reversal signal. So, first of all, T2104 got me out of my swing positions today. So is this a top? Not quite sure, but it definitely looks like it's moving into some serious resistance. This T2104 is going to look just like the other indexes. We are really sandwiched. We are below. We have overhead resistance, which is strong resistance on many of these indexes. It's the 200 EMA, which is the granddaddy of the indexes. And the reason why it is just because it is. There's a lot of traders and institutions that look at the 200 EMA. That's what makes it significant. As a technical trader, that's all you really need to know. So we're coming into some heavy resistance, and we pulled back today right before it, but the pullback was fairly significant. I mean, we had over 1% on all the indexes to the downside after a big move up on Friday with some good news coming out of China that the trade talks were calming down a little bit. Maybe the Trump administration and China were getting close to a trade deal. Then today the news comes out that that's not the case. So the market is very sensitive to the news cycle right now. And if those talks start falling apart and we continue to get bad news that the U.S. government, the Democrats and Republicans, excuse me, folks, cannot reach an agreement, and some bad news in earnings, and this could really start tumbling down here. So we have to stay very aware of the news cycle and what's going on. But most importantly, what I've realized learning how to trade is that don't even pay attention to the news. I trade much better when I just pay attention to the chart. I don't need to know what the news was, because once I start trying to analyze the news in my head, it gives me a bias. And the goal of a technical trader is just to try to remove your bias as much as possible, stick to your system, and stick to what's on the chart. Excuse me. So, T2104, still looking strong, but you got to take a step back here and kind of observe a little bit deeper on what's going on. And that's what we're going to do right here. Next, we want to take a look at the Dow. Very similar picture. The Dow is pushing up into some serious resistance levels, and we got to see how it shakes out. We have some big earnings coming up. That's really the story of the market. Geopolitical risk, which you can throw the government shutdown inside of that geopolitical risk, and earnings. And that's what's going to be moving the market. A lot of these indexes look very similar. Now, the SPY did hold support today, which is really good. So it does show me that there is people willing to step in, buying these retracements. So let's see how this shakes out over the next couple days. Now the Qs were a little bit weak today, probably the weakest index out of the market. We had stocks like Amazon and Netflix, as well as the chip stocks that were under some heavy pressure. In particular, the semiconductors, which the semiconductor index is very, very important to the overall indexes. If the semiconductor index starts rolling over, we got some serious problems coming our way. And lastly, what I want to take a look at right here is the TVIX. Now, any of you guys that are day traders or swing traders, you know all about the TVIX. This thing is a wild horse. You got to be really prepared when you take a trade in the TVIX that the volatility can stop you out. You could be on the right side of this trade, but you have to have pretty wide stop losses because it could shake around relatively quickly. On days like today, when the T2-104 is red all day, I pretty much just trade the TVIX and I look for retracements on the TVIX. So this is a swing trade type of report that I want to do for you guys. But if you look at this TVIX intraday, we had this little gap up. And just breakout after breakout after breakout. I mean, it's just flag. It's just, as long as the T2-104 is staying red all day long, you could pretty much, stay long the TVIX. And just a little helpful hint to you guys that may just be starting trading is you do not want to hesitate with this TVIX. The very first retracement, when you have volume expanding, you're coming into an area that previously the TVIX had big move top side. You want to buy the first retracement, give yourself some room because it is very volatile, and add along the way. That's the way I trade the TVIX. Worked out great today, so we'll see what happens tomorrow if there's continuation. Usually when the TVIX has such a big move one day, it's rare, but it does happen that the next day is also another big, huge day. So for a swing trade, what I would be looking for on this TVIX is I'm going to line it up with the T2-104, and I'm going to keep you guys posted on this as the week goes on. And excuse me, today being Tuesday, and a holiday yesterday, we start looking at the weekly chart, tomorrow, maybe the next day, and we start seeing where those weekly resistance spots are at. So stay tuned. I plan to bring you guys much more good, useful information that you could benefit from. If you're a part-time swing trader or a day trader, there may be a few tricks that I might be able to share with you guys that might work for your trading. And if you have any comments or suggestions on perhaps different ways that I could look at some of these indexes and some of these specific ETFs, please share that in the comments below. I'd really like to hear what you guys have to say. Once again, thank you so much for joining me on the first post-market show. I plan to bring you guys much more good information in the future and hopefully better quality videos here as I'm just learning how all this video editing and technology stuff works. So bear with me. It will get better. But what's most important is the information that I bring to you guys. And right now, we have to stay cautious. Geopolitical risk at the top of the list. Earnings right below that. We got to watch the TVIX. And if you have TC2000, you got to watch the T2-104. So once again, my name is Paul. I'm your host. Have a good evening, everybody. Bye-bye.